Hello, everyone who's in here. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Had a few issues with the microphone and also had issues with a certain chihuahua who suddenly needed belly rubs the moment I was about to go live. So I've attended to that, and now you have my attention. So, ooh, you're right, Amira. Sorry, that is her making weird noises. Welcome. Hi, Simply Smile. Good to see you here. So, yesterday I did. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Yesterday I did a live stream looking at the facts that we know, the solid facts, things that we can say. Well, things that we can be probably 90% sure of, things we've been told by law enforcement or things that we have seen for ourselves. And that was quite a long list. So obviously I decided it was time to stop and take a bit of time to just chill and come back to it today. Now, I am just going to share something first, which I found it amusing, but let's talk about when people make assumptions. You've heard the saying, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. So I'm just going to put this out there for a certain creator who has now decided that because the bum said that he knew a girl who worked at a ski lodge back in 2003, she's now made the assumption from that one single fact that apparently the bum and Megan Cole have had a child together and that the child would have to therefore be roughly 20 years old. What a joke. So, yeah, look, to that creator, stop making an ass of yourself and stop making an ass of your listeners. Because, seriously, the bum and Megan Cole never had a child together. Sorry, but that was just one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. And I just wanted to comment on that before we launch into today's live. So, welcome everyone who's just come in while I was talking. Good to see people here. Awesome. I hope the sound's fine. I didn't do a proper check on it before I started because I was running late. Like I said, apparently it was 10 o'clock meant belly rub time for the kitten. For the dog, sorry. Mrs. G, how hilarious is it? Megan Cole and the bum having a baby together. Seriously, it's like she could almost do comedy if she could actually figure out how to do comedic timing. And maybe that's what it's all about. Okay, so let's jump into looking at more facts. And Mrs. G, I'm hoping that you can help me out with anything that I missed on the autopsy yesterday, because I've ended up being so busy that I didn't get a chance to go back and look at the autopsy and see if there was anything that I missed when we were talking yesterday. So we'll come back to that a little bit down the track. So yesterday I finished off talking about the car and stuff to do with the car. So the first thing I'm going to say that we know as a fact is that items which were supposedly found by Check-It matched items that we saw in the Adventures with Purpose video. So, such as the hairbrush and the laptop and some kind of charger. These were things found by Check-It, which we saw in Kiely's vehicle in the Adventures with Purpose video. So we can have some certainty that they were Kiely's items, I know people speculate about them being planted, but there's nothing there to suggest that. Hi to the people who are coming in. Good to see you. So I think, our first fact would be that the items found, or supposedly, purportedly found by Check It, do match items that were in Kylie's vehicle. Now, fact number 2. And this one is one that so many people like to ignore. There were multiple flights over the location where Kylie's vehicle was found. Not just one, not even a dozen. We're talking, I remember watching one live stream that either our 22 Cents did or Tennessee Yankee. And I remember them just doing one particular day and they counted up. I can remember they got as far as 22 times that either helicopters or planes flew over the precise location where Kylie's vehicle was. That's a lot of times to be flying over a vehicle and not seeing it. So definitely we have a fact there. Flights flew over Kylie's vehicle or the location where her vehicle was found multiple times. Another fact, boats also were on that reservoir and went over the location where the phone was found. And this I can't say as 100% fact because as much as I tried to research and verify it, and while I had actually handballed it to Tennessee Yankee, we know what happened there. He kind of vanished, and so I never know if he got anywhere further with the research. But we were told that one of the boats had a magnetic anomaly detector on it. So I'm not sure if we can count that as fact or if we can maybe put that as in a fact-ish basket. No, you haven't missed much, Drift Away. I was just saying in terms of facts so far that the items found by Check It match items that were seen in Kylie's vehicle on Adventures with Purpose video. And the second fact that I had was that there were multiple flights. Like I'm talking more than just a dozen, dozens and dozens of flights directly over the location of Kylie's vehicle. There were also boats that went directly over the location of Kylie's vehicle. Also, fact, there were divers in the precise location where Kylie's vehicle was later found. Also, a fact. Hang on, I'm just going to read what Mrs. G's got. I understand how everyone feels about SF regardless. He still had access to people most people did not, such as family, FBI, so on. Yeah, but SF speaks out of his ass. You've got to be really careful when you listen to what SF says because he's good at making things up. And I'm not even going to say that's speculation. I'm going to say I've seen that in practice. So I'm always very, very wary about what SF says. Okay, going back to talking about the location of the vehicle. Fact is that there were multiple agencies with really expensive and high-tech equipment. So we're talking LiDAR, we're talking FLIR, possibly MAD equipment, high-tech equipment that should have easily shown a vehicle. Also, fact, Washoe County, if you have a look, if you actually do a bit of research into Washoe County and their Hasty team, that Hasty team has been highly, highly praised for their abilities. They're recognised as one of the top search and rescue teams in the area. And let's not forget, I mean, this is an area where you have, in summer, you have multiple lakes. People have accidents on the lakes. You know, this is what these people are trained to do. And who looks like a Tony? SF. I'm not getting the joke. I'm sorry. I'm pathetic. Sorry about that. What's a Tony? Like Tony as in like a greasy wog guy. You use different terms there to what we would. And my apologies for using the term wog. I know these days that's quite offensive and I shouldn't have done. So I'm sorry and I do apologise. Yeah, going back to Washoe, we know that they are highly regarded, highly trained, and they put that underwater submarine thing, and I cannot for the life of me think of what it's called right now. They put that in the water at the boat ramp. And that's got quite a range that can actually also be operated from a boat. But that didn't find anything. Interesting. Now, before I move on to other things, let's look at yeah, shady, greasy creeps. Yep, agreed. So, Oddfellows, are they the same as Masons? I don't know, because in Australia we don't think we have Oddfellows, but I couldn't say. Guy McFarland, where I grew up, SF, is known as fish food. Okay. Yeah, no, they wouldn't have him as an Oddfellow or a Mason, that's for sure. Okay, so here's another important fact. The vehicle was located a short distance from where the party apparently was and from where the last ping of Kiely's phone occurred. And I think that's a really important fact that we've got to try and remember, because they knew where the party was. They knew where the last ping was. Why couldn't they find the car? I find that really odd. And I'm not sure if it's the Adventures with the Doug conversation video that I dropped yesterday, or the one that I've got kind of queued up to drop later on. But one of the things that was discussed in one of those videos was the fact that what they saw on their side scan sonar was a big damn object. So, and he was talking about how originally when Adventures with Purpose started out, they would have seen, like, you know, big objects like that and thought everything was a car. Not that they would not have seen big objects. So how is it possible for law enforcement to have gone over that reservoir with side scan sonar and not seen that fucking huge thing in the middle of the reservoir, right near where the phone last pinged and right near where the party was? It doesn't make sense. So yeah, that was one of our facts. The fact that the vehicle was only a short distance from the party and the last ping. To me, that says they should have found it. Now, another fact that I think, and it's something that we do tend to go back to quite a lot, but I think it's something that we do need to keep in mind quite often. Oh, Shan. Gross. I'm not even going to read that out on here. that traumatizes me thinking of that. Here's another important fact that we know, and that is that there were illegal drugs and alcohol at the party, and that those kids were doing all those things. So I'm just flipping my page over. I might stop while I'm flipping my page over, so I'm not dropping the microphone or doing dumbass stuff. Okay, sorry. Going. Yeah, Guy, it was a little bit too graphic, wasn't it? Oh, it was just a bit too much. I'm going to be traumatized by that for the rest of the day now. So definitely a fact that the kids were, or the teens were, getting into drugs and alcohol at the party. We know that not just from Sammy Smith, but we know that from law enforcement as well. So definitely one of those facts that we can say is a certainty. Oh, Shan, stop. Okay, you're killing me. Okay, another fact, and I think this is one of those really, really... Oh, Billy, don't encourage her. I'm so not going to read out what you guys are typing. And if you are in replay, then you can go and read it in chat yourself. Presumably chat still occurs in my replays. I haven't actually checked to see if that happens at this point in time. Ew. Oh, Shan. Okay, so let's go back to trying to talk about facts before Shan completely takes this whole live stream off the rails. You know that for me, having ADHD, when you start throwing in curveballs like that the whole thing is just about to go completely out the window, and I'm going to have no idea what I'm talking about, even with my notes in front of me. Facts. The kids would not, or the teens would not talk. I think that is crucial, and that is something that we need to bear in mind. And for all those people who continue to try and tell us to stop talking about Kiely, it was simply an accident. She drove herself into the reservoir. Why then were the kids so determined to keep their mouths shut and not talk about anything to do with the party? Mrs. G, are you sure that you're not on fire or your house isn't on fire? Maybe they're just stopping for a reason. I don't know. You have to keep us updated. the one that did the talk stopped when asked questions. Oh, the one that did talk stopped when asked questions. Exactly. The one kid who talked, Sammy, when people started questioning her, all of a sudden she vanished off the planet. So I think it is important. I think had it just been an accident, first of all, like I said yesterday, kids would have come forward and said that they saw something. Kids would have reacted. And, you know, if it was an accident, it wouldn't be such a wall of silence. That is what I strongly believe. So I think when we look at the fact, yeah, so scripted. When we look at the fact that the kids wouldn't talk and that only Sammy came forward, I think Maddie came forward briefly and did one interview and then vanished off the planet. And then same with Mags, she only briefly spoke and then she stopped talking too. So it's odd. And to me, it definitely says a lot. Now, one other thing that I think is, okay, it's going to be one of those days where my animals are making lots of crazy noise too. I'll just apologise for that ahead of time. Amira, you're tucked in, you've got a blanket, you've got a heated pad. What more do you need? Sorry, crazy cat, crazy dog. Okay, another fact is that the way people spoke when Kiely was missing, some of the verbiage was really, really odd. Oh, is it just you can't hear me? Can anyone hear me? Oh, Shad can hear me. Someone might want to tell Mrs. G if she can't hear me to maybe go out and come back in, or grab some. Oh, I get it. You mean you can't hear the animal noises in the background? Okay, that's cool. Now I get it. Amira has settled down and gone back to sleep, and Taka has stopped barking in her sleep. And for once, the kitten is actually asleep and not causing trouble. So we might be right now. Yeah, the odd verbiage. That is a fact. The way that people were speaking was the way that people would speak about a traumatic experience. I don't think people could argue that as being a fact. Even Sam Brown, some of the things he said, the way he said them was suggestive of trauma. And you have parents who had made comments on Facebook about their kids not talking because of some sort of bad experience, and constantly talking about bad experiences and, you know, horrific things, and just the really, and I can't think of examples right now, but the whole verbiage that suggested trauma. I think that is one of the facts that we need to bear in mind. And I know it's a less solid fact than some of the other things we've discussed, but it's still a fact. The way that people were talking when Kiely was missing was not the way you would expect people to talk if a child was simply missing, or if a child had been possibly abducted. Now, Okay, yeah, Driftaway, that could be it, that they were speaking as if they were going to be in big trouble, but no trauma. Yeah, that's a possibility. I think I know I wish I could find. I've got a screenshot somewhere that where a parent spoke about a child having been at the party and they were too disturbed to talk about it. But yeah. Okay, so maybe we'll take that one off the table then in terms of the verbiage suggesting trauma, because maybe does come down to interpretation. And I might have to sit down and have another look at some of the things that people said. Now, I want to. Yeah, Sammy was asking people to cover her ass at that community meeting. And what's with the comment, I will take your name to jail? Like, oh my gosh. I think a lot of what Sammy was saying was veiled threats or not so veiled threats. She was doing her best to shut people up, I think. Yeah. Okay, so we'll take the verbiage sort of suggesting trauma off the table right now. Let's talk about the possibility of Kiely driving herself into the reservoir and some of the facts that we know about Kiely that, to me, would debunk that. So, the first thing for me that comes to mind is that Kiely was an experienced driver. It doesn't matter that she was only 16. It doesn't matter that she only just had her license. We're talking about a girl who grew up in the backcountry. She drove snowmobiles. She drove four-wheelers. Even in the area where the party was, she used to go driving like four-wheeler bikes there. We've been told that. We know that she had lots of experience before she got her license. And people have said that. So many people have said Kiely was an experienced driver. We've heard that from friends and we've heard that from family. And another thing that we heard from friends and family, and I think this is important too, that when they were trying to sell the notion of her being abducted, so before Kiely was found and then the narrative changed, friends and family were all saying Kiely wouldn't drink drive. She was a good girl. She wouldn't take that risk. She wouldn't be that stupid. Even Sammy said she's a smart girl when she was talking about Kiely driving. So, you know, how did that change? How did they go from 1 minute saying she's a smart girl, she knows about drink driving? I know Sammy said she knows about drink driving, but she did say that, Kylie's a smart girl. And we had family, we had Jagger saying she would never drink drive. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't take that risk. And then suddenly when Kylie's found, they're all saying, even Jagger turns around and says, oh, she got drunk and drove into the reservoir. Let it go. So I think we need to keep that in mind as a fact, that before Kiely was found, people were saying that she wouldn't have driven herself into the water. Now, I think we did probably cover this yesterday, but since it's here in my notes, I'm just going to go over it again. It may be that we brought it up yesterday, and I know Mrs. G will have brought it up, but in the autopsy, there was no water in her lungs. None at all. Nor was there water in her stomach or in any of her sinuses. As in, one of the things that struck me when Latina was doing her a couple of her lives about the autopsy is that there should have been water in the and help me out here, Mrs. G. There should have been water in the ear canal. Latina said that she would expect there to have been water in the sinuses and in the ear canal had someone drowned. So, and she spoke about, she called it a constellation in terms of when you look at drowning, you don't just go with one thing, but you have to go with a number of things. She said it's a exclusion thing. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. G. In the sphenoid sinus, I knew you could help me out. Latina said that in someone who drowned, there should have been water in the sphenoid sinus. There wasn't. It wasn't in the autopsy, so as several medical professionals have said, if it wasn't in the autopsy, it wasn't there. So, sorry, just trying to check that I've finished with that page and move on to the next page. Yeah, so we're looking at exclusion in terms of a diagnosis of drowning. And personally, I mean, and this isn't like me going back on facts, this is me just saying this, and we talked about this yesterday in terms of facts. I think that there should have been a tissue biopsy of that area of discoloration in the scalp. I think they disregarded that far too quickly. But obviously, I'm not a medical professional, so not my place to say whether that is as significant as I think it is. Okay, I'm going to move on to during the search. And let's talk about one fact that, and I haven't had a chance to watch it, but if you check out Illuminated Mind, her most recent video that she did is addressing the tank top. I must remember to check that out because she does brilliant videos. But one really important fact. Now, we've seen photos, we've heard from the person who found it. There was a black tank top found on the road between Prosser and Boca. We know that as a fact. And as a fact that accompanies the finding of that black tank top is the fact that the description that we were given for Kiely changed from her wearing a tank top to her wearing a bodysuit. Now, we can speculate on that, but those are two things that are solid fact. There was a tank top found. and it was found on the road between Prosser and Boca. And after that tank top was found, and also after the dodgy photo of Sammy that we were supposed to believe is Kiely was found, the description was changed from tank top to bodysuit. And look, I don't know if they collected it as evidence. I don't know if it just got whisked away by someone else and we'll never hear anything more of it. But for me, I still can't completely disregard that tank top being found on the side of the road. Now, on that same road, and this is another thing that I think is an important fact, because, like I said, with I think I mentioned it yesterday, as far as the windows in the car. Yeah, the lady took the pictures of it, and she did the right thing. She didn't touch it. So without it being like spread out, obviously we wouldn't be able to tell size or anything like that. The burner phone. Was the burner phone found next to the broken glass? Because that's where I'm headed for next in this. So in the footage that we saw with Adventures with Purpose, it appears that front window was perhaps broken out. And here is one solid fact that we know. The same road that the tank top was found on, so the road between Boca and Prosser, somebody found broken window glass from a vehicle. And we know that was actually logged, and there was information on that, but that seems to have vanished completely. And we also know that there was a burner phone found in the exact same area. So, Shan, are you able to say for certainty that the burner phone was with the broken glass? Because that's definitely significant. So that's definitely one of our facts. Okay, so I'm just going to read directly. The bodysuit was found on Prosser Dam Road near Prosser, and the glass and the phone near Boca. And there was also a local who found blood on the rocks at Boca Campground. Excellent. Shan, if you can find them, or if maybe someone who's in your public Discord can do a bit of digging and find them, it would be good if we could actually have a really good look at those, even if that was something that you look at in your live stream tomorrow. If you are you going live tomorrow, Shan? Please say you do, because I love listening to your live streams. Now, I find it really curious. I find it really, really curious that the stuff about the broken glass, the burner phone, the rock, seems to have all evaporated. It's one of the things that evaporated. Yay! Shan will be doing a Friday live tomorrow. Good stuff. Oh, that sounds crazy for me, because obviously right now, today is Friday here. But for me, it's a Saturday live. But it's always one of the things I look forward to. Now, another fact that we seem to have, well, we haven't forgotten, but seems to be overlooked, and I think is significant, is that it was reported that one of the areas that was closed off because law enforcement were retrieving evidence. So as a fact, we know that law enforcement were retrieving some kind of evidence in an area that was closed off from the public. We never heard anything more about what that evidence was. Let's hope that FBI are still working on that case, and that they still have whatever that evidence was, and that it's not something that got conveniently lost. Yeah, I mean, I know there was also the blood trail that was found at Prosser Campground, but I think that was not because I think it was sort of more, it was away from the area where the party was, so I don't know if that was relevant, but the blood on the rock is relevant. And I remember Cece doing a video. Quite often, early on in the case, Cece kept putting this one particular rock in her videos. They locked up the Cal Topo for the search for Kiely. Yep, that would make sense, because they don't want people to know any of that stuff, and there's a lot of evidence listed and stuff like that. And that was another thing that Tennessee Yankee had spent a lot of time working on before his channel vanished. So I think if we look at the things that Tennessee Yankee was looking at, and some of them we can't find again now, I think it's crucial. There must be something important in the flight paths and in the Cal Topo stuff, because they were what Tennessee Yankee was focusing on when he suddenly vanished. So I think they're definitely important. Now, wow. So, Shan, have you still got that Cal Topo stuff? Or you've been able to access it through the archives? Because if it's private or 404, then just trying to go into it. Yeah, sorry, I was just reading Mrs. G's comment that someone could have cut their foot on a rock. So you screen recorded some of it, but it's archived. Yep. Good stuff. I keep wishing that some of the flight paths would magically reappear, or that someone will turn around and go, oh, look, here it is, I've got them. But, yeah. And same with Cal Topo, I'm so glad you've got that stuff. Now, let's talk about the area where Kiely's car ended up. It is a fact that it is not a wrong turn road. I think that is something that can't be debated. Doug Bishop describes it really well. He explains how the road into where the party was a paved road. It was an easy road to drive. Whereas if you made the wrong turn and headed along towards the reservoir, that was a track with humongous ruts, and the sort of track where you would have to be constantly readjusting your steering. Hi, Mrs. Pookie's, Mr. Pookie's Grammy. That track, you would have to constantly adjust your steering to get along that track. And even then, you've got a good chance of bottoming out or tipping your vehicle. Now, I think with something like a CRV, the chances of tipping it are not huge. but the chances of bottoming out in some of those ruts are definitely significant. And, I questioned Cece about the drive, and she said for her, there were times when she nearly bottomed out on the ruts, and that it really was a rough drive, and that she struggled in her Jeep. It would be interesting to do a comparison in terms of clearance with a Jeep and a CRV. Maybe they're similar, but in my mind, I think of Jeeps as having slightly higher clearance. I don't know. But yeah, it is a fact that was not a wrong turn road. If you turned onto that road, even if it was pitch black, you would know you were headed the wrong way. Why would you barrel on then for quite some distance and continue going for quite some distance when you knew you were on the wrong road, particularly when you knew that you were on the wrong road next to a reservoir? It doesn't make sense. And we've seen photos of vehicles that were stuck in the mud on that along the side of that reservoir. So we know for a fact that a vehicle driving into the water there is going to get stuck. It's muddy. If you go back and look at some of the search footage, there is one video that I think it was a Fox 40 video that they did that showed some of the searches. And there's one particular video where you see one of the teams in a boat basically run the boat up towards the shore. It's still in the water, but it kind of, bottoms out. And they all get out and they walk away and they leave the boat without tying it or anything because it's in the mud, so it's not going anywhere. So to me, I think I would still take that as a fact, that you would have a high chance of getting stuck in the mud were you to start driving into that reservoir. And one other, I've actually reached the bottom of my list because I've doubled up a bit here. So I think I already said that we know it as a fact that Kiely was a responsible girl. She wouldn't take the risks that people have suggested that she was willing to take. I think so many people have pointed that out, and yet the people who want to continue to push the argument that it was just an accident and she drove herself into the reservoir are still ignoring that fact. But here's one thing that to me is really significant in terms of important facts. Now, supposedly we're meant to believe that the fire cam footage shows Kiely's car driving into the reservoir at 12:30. And I think most of us now don't believe that as being accurate, and there is something screwy with the fire cams. And I'm sure Shan will enlighten us on that sometime in the near future. But this is one important fact that I keep going back to. It was normal for Kiely when she was out somewhere, not just to message if she was going to be late, but to message her mum as she was leaving. So she should have messaged her mum at 12:15 to say that she was leaving Prosser and on her way home. but supposedly she never did. Hi CB, welcome. Yeah, you relax, Shan. I'm nearly finished with this now. For now, I've actually gotten towards the end of my list, so I'm going to ask if people have got things to add of their own. But I think it is a really important fact that we need to remember is that Kiely, under normal circumstances, would message her mum to say she was on her way home. Oh, Ara, you're here. Oh, so glad. You've been missing for ages. I've missed you a lot. Hopefully, are you on holidays now, Ara? Or are you still on the final stretch? I get confused because in Australia it's really different here. So I don't know when your school year finishes in terms of all that stuff. So if Kiely supposedly drove into the reservoir at 12:30, that means that theoretically she thought she was on her way home, and yet she didn't text her mum to say she was leaving. I'm not going to say that it is a fact, though, that she didn't text her mum to say she was leaving. I'm going to say that it's a fact that she normally messages her mum to say when she was leaving. But the reason I'm not going to say that, sorry, I'm getting messages off my phone at the same time. My niece and nephew turned 30 today. So I made a little video that I sent my niece just before I got on this live, and she's just seen it and she's sending me messages. Okay. Going back to the 12:15, my squirrels seem to have well and truly set in now. I'll just try and get through this and then probably finish the live. But in terms of 12:15, theoretically, Kiely should have messaged her mum when she left if she was leaving. And, if she was capable of driving, which we're supposed to believe that she was capable enough to drive along this no wrong turn road and to actually navigate it for several kilometres or several miles for quite some distance. So she was apparently capable of doing that and capable of driving herself into the reservoir. And yet she didn't message her mum before doing that and saying she was on her way home, even though that is what she always did. I do have to question, though, because there were a few instances in interviews where I'm actually not necessarily interviews, I think it was media reports where they said that she had said to her mum at 12:15 that she was coming home. But I don't know if that is just shitty reporting and reporters who misinterpreted what Lindsay had said. So I'm not going to stand by that. But Kiely did not drive herself into that reservoir. And I'm yet to see any solid argument from anybody that is going to convince me that she could have possibly driven herself into that reservoir. I think, CB, I completely agree with you. Nobody in, 22 months, nobody has come forward to say that there are solid reasons that would convince any of us that Kiely drove into that reservoir. Nothing. And yet I've just done two live streams, both of which are nearly an hour long, with solid facts that to me point towards foul play. Oh, wow. Brandy, your son is graduating in 4 days. Yeah. I can imagine how it must feel right now to be watching your son getting ready for graduation and feeling all that stuff in relation to Kiely's case. It's significant, and I hope the graduation is fantastic. Look, I'm going to say this: if there is anyone out there who can show me some solid evidence or come up with an argument that holds water to show me or show all of us that Kiely drove herself into the reservoir, have at it. Prove it to us. Because honestly, there is nothing there. There's no physical evidence. There's no witness narratives. We have this supposed witness who was apparently a party at the other side of the reservoir and saw a car go close to the water, and we're supposed to take that as some kind of evidence, and we're all supposed to lick Sammy's boots because of that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh wow, CB, your baby boy turned 18. It's amazing, isn't it? I don't have kids of my own, but my youngest niece, she will be 20 this year, and she's about to, or in another month or so, she's about to head off and do uni in Korea for 6 months. They grow up so quickly, don't they? I was just making a video for my oldest niece and nephew's 30th birthday, and looking at their baby photos and thinking, wow, that was like 30 years ago. It's like, starts to make you feel old. But yeah, I think my squirrels have well and truly gotten loose. So I think this is a good place for me to stop. And please, if you are replay crew, leave comments in the comment section if you can think of any other facts that we've not covered. Everyone in here, please hit the like button on your way out. We're still seeing, when I do a search for Kiely Rodni on YouTube, the main thing that is coming up is one particular creator who we kind of don't want her videos being the main thing that people are finding when they look up Kiely Rodni. We don't want people hearing misinformation when it comes to Kiely Rodni. So hit the like button, and if you replay, leave a comment. Even if you're here in the chat, you can always come back and leave a comment. But we need to get some more solid content out and being seen on YouTube to counter some of the other stuff that's being put out there. Yeah. Mark says no video, no witness, no proof of foul play, no statement from law enforcement on anything. And that is so true. Okay, thanks for coming in, guys. I really appreciate you all. Just a reminder for those of you who are members, if you are listening in, remember you have till next Wednesday to leave a comment in the latest member video, and there will be another member video coming out where I will also give you a chance to leave a comment in that. And then I'll be doing a draw for members' prizes in roughly a week's time. Thank you so much for coming in, everybody. I love you all. I greatly appreciate you all. And enjoy the rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are. And I'll see you in Shan's Live tomorrow. Bye.